When you purchase and register the Inventory Locations module for CenterPoint Accounting, it gives you the ability to maintain and report your inventory by inventory location. The first step in using inventory locations would be to set up inventory locations underneath Setup, Inventory, and Inventory Locations. There will always be an inventory location called All Locations, and you will not be able to delete it. You'll see that the delete is grayed out. If you do not select an inventory location in a transaction that involves inventory, it will default to the location called All Locations. Also, if you were maintaining inventory prior to installing the Inventory Locations module, your existing inventory will be set to the location called All Locations. It can then be moved to a new location you create through an inventory transfer that we will discuss later in this video. You're going to click New to create a new location, but I'm going to highlight one of mine and click Edit. The only thing you really need for an inventory location is a name. I do recommend putting in an abbreviation as well. The rest of the information is optional. When you no longer need an inventory location, you can come back to this screen and make it inactive. I'm going to click Save, and you'll continue to create as many inventory locations as you need. So we'll go ahead and close out of there. Once you set up the inventory locations, all transactions involving inventory need to have an inventory location selected, or it will default to that location called All Locations. At the time of an entry, if purchasing inventory, if you do not know the location, you can purchase it to the All Locations location and then transfer it using an inventory transfer. Before we get to the inventory transfer, I want to point out some reports that will give you information on your inventory by location. To get to those reports, we can go to Reports and then to Reports, and on the Reports tab, we'll open up the section called Transaction Reports and then go to the section called Inventory. The first report I want to point out is the one called Inventory Stock Status by Item and Location. And when we preview that report, you'll see that it's giving us each item, and then it's giving us how many we have at each location. I'm going to close that. That report is great, except for if you do have serialized or lotted inventory, you might also want to be aware of the report called Lotted and Serialized Item Stock Status by Location, which is basically the same report, but it's giving us detail by different lots and serial numbers. I'm going to close out of there, and then we'll go ahead and close out of reports. Installing inventory locations will add a special transaction screen that will help facilitate creating a transaction for the transfer. This screen can be found underneath Processes, Inventory, and Inventory Transfers. To start a new inventory transfer, we'll click New. You'll need to select your company. I'm going to skip the box for Inventory Transfer Default. We'll come back to that momentarily. Then, if you want to transfer inventory from one location to another, you'll select the location that you're transferring it from. So I'm going to transfer from my Illinois store to my Minnesota store. So Minnesota store will be my second my transfer to. Okay, you're going to have the date of the transfer, and then there's going to be a sequence number that's going to get selected. Then you'll choose your first item that you're going to transfer. It might be your only item, and when you select it, it'll show you how many you have on hand, and you can tell the system how many you're going to transfer. And then if you have additional items, you can also select those, and again, put in how many you are going to transfer. You do have a place for a memo, and actually there's two memo fields and a place to put in a notation for this transaction. When you're done making your selections, you can click Save. And then it'll show the transaction. You can always come back to this screen at any time to edit the transaction and or delete the transaction. I'm going to edit the transaction for a second, and when we did that transaction, I skipped this field called the Inventory Transfer Default. That field is used to set up some defaults for common inventory transfers that you might have. For example, at my company, we have multiple stores, and 2 of our stores have ski equipment at them, our Colorado store and our Minnesota store. But in the spring, at the end of the ski season, we want to transfer all of our inventory from our Minnesota store back to the Colorado store. So I'm going to set up an inventory transfer default to do that. We would do that underneath Setup, Inventories, and Inventory Transfer Defaults. You can see I've already created mine. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit, but you would click New to create a new one. On the default, you'll give it an abbreviation and a name, and then you'll tell it any transfer details that you need, like from what location to what inventory location to what inventory location, from what profit center to what profit center, from what location to what location, and then any other details that you might want to add. Also, if you want to take away details here, if you don't think you'd be using projects in tracking number 1, you can go ahead and take those fields off of the screen. So any of the fields you don't think you're going to need, you can take off of the screen. At the bottom is going to be a list of all of your inventory items. If you need to filter that list, you can open up the filter and filter for specific groups of items. Okay. Then you're going to move over to the right all of those inventory items that are going to be involved in this transfer. So I've moved over all of our ski packages. Then you'll go ahead and click Save and close out of there. To use that inventory transfer default, I'm going to go back to the inventory transfer screen underneath Processes, Inventory, and Inventory Transfers. I'm going to click New. We're going to select our company. I'm going to select the inventory transfer. It goes ahead and it loads all of the details that we set up. If I need to change any of those details, I can go to the Details button and I can change any of the selections that were made. I'm also going to date this. So I'm going to date this 4/30 of 25. And all I have to do is go through the list and put in how many I'm transferring. So if I'm transferring all of them, I'll just go through and match the quantity that is on hand at the Minnesota store to the quantity that I'm transferring to the Colorado store. If I still need to add additional items to this transfer, I can. When I'm done, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And then once again, if you need to edit or delete that transaction, you can come back to this screen, highlight it, and edit it or delete it.